Alrighty, for the major reason I'm doing this video is because it was requested for me to do it, for me to review it, take a look at it, and give my thoughts on it. The reason I was asked is because I guess I'm mixed. My father was African American and my mother is Caucasian. So I'm gonna look at this, and I guess I'm gonna have commentary, but I'm just gonna tell you. I did watch it, and now I'm watching it with you, and I I have to be honest in my review, so I'm going to be very honest about it. This first part, the hippies and stuff, that's not how I was brought up, so I'm not going to look at that. If you want to, you can go look at the full thing, but I don't know anything about this, so I'm not even going to look it up because I wasn't raised on a farm and my parents weren't hippies. So let's get into it.
The rest of the world was inaugurating Reagan into his second term and worrying about AIDS, famine, and the crack epidemic. My peaceful little world had been taken away.
I know this place might seem different.
Hey, hippies.
Harrison Jackson III was my grandfather.
I'm gonna make more real-world money to pay for this real-world house that your entire family's survival is dependent upon.
All right, so I'm going to be brutally honest. If you're faint at heart, I'm going to tell you now, go do something else. But I'm going to be honest and tell my story along with this. My grandparents on my mom's side, because my mom is the Caucasian one, she was told that, she wasn't welcome within the home after they found out that she had married my father and she was pregnant with me. So I wasn't accepted, that's for sure, at first. But later on, down the line, they came to accept us as their grandkids, and they had a change of heart, which I'm thankful for, because they winded up being, the loves of my life, and vice versa. So, at first it wasn't accepted. I can remember my mother and father telling me stories where as though they would go out and they would get shunned upon, they would be called names and all kind of things. They had to deal with a lot of pain and heartbreak from other people. It was hard for them to be together. It ultimately took a strain on the relationship, and my mother and father winded up divorcing. So it wasn't a walk in the park. It wasn't a stroll, down the sidewalk and happy times and yay. So this time that supposed Rainbow was talking about interracial marriages and couples, they were not accepted at all. So I don't know where the hell this is supposed to take place at, but back then it was nothing like this. All right, let's continue.
And that's why I hate guns.
My little brother Johan looked at everything like one great big magical adventure.
Bet you it's a portal to another dimension.
Guess that's settled. Never using that thing.
My little sister Santa Monica complained like a woman with no kids on her third divorce, which interestingly enough, she would eventually become. And when we got to school, we got introduced to the real world.
I'm too little to die.
Real quick.
What are you weirdos mixed with?
What's mixed?
My parents had sent us out into the world with absolutely no warning that being mixed was even a thing. Imagine being the new kid when no one in the world is like you. But you have to understand, today's mixed kids can look up to rappers, ballerinas, athletes, a president, and a princess. The only heroes we had were DeBarge.
Okay, so as far as her talking about going to school and things like that, that does pretty much, that's pretty accurate, because when I went to school, I got called all kind of things. I got called Oreo, Mutt, whatever they could think of or whatever they thought was funny. They called me anything to call me anything but what I was, which was a little African American girl. I don't know where this mixed, I honestly don't know where the mixed thing comes from, because my parents, I'm not going to lie, they said we're human beings before anything else. But we're black, we're African American, and that's just the way it is. I think this mixed crap is a bunch of bull crap, you know. I mean, I was mostly raised by my mom's side, which was the Caucasian side, but when my parents divorced, I ended up going to schools in the city because that's where my father lived. But I pretty much had like half a lifestyle in both the suburbs and in the urban area. But it was pretty hard in school because they did call us names because of the fact that we were different, and they didn't know how to distinguish us. They thought we were just different just because of our skin color, or maybe because our hair and things of that sort. So it was very, very hard for me to go to school because I was constantly teased. But I like to think I don't see anything as a weakness, and I make the things that you think will make me weak have actually made me stronger. So, all right, let's continue.
Don't worry about what other kids think. They're idiots.
And I want to be one of them.
I want to be an idiot so bad.
Tell me you didn't send these babies to school looking like this.
What's wrong with how we look?
Sweetie, you know Auntie Dee Dee loves you very much, but you look like a runaway house slave.
No.
The world smacked you in the face today, didn't it? You can tell me.
It did. It really did.
In the summer of 1985,
We are living in a material world, and I am a material girl.
I was 12 years old.
Guns.
Relax, hippie. Water guns are every child's Second Amendment right.
I love the Second Amendment!
And my life changed forever.
I mean, like I said, back then, it was a totally different time. Those are issues we had to deal with at that time. If you were, I guess if you want to call it mixed, coming up. When I first moved to the city with my father, I didn't know what rap was because I had spent most of my childhood in the suburbs. So when I got to the city, they were like, I remember they said, "You didn't hear this rap song?" And I was like, "What's rap?" And they were like, "Oh my God, where are you from? Outer space?" So it's definitely a shock to live one type of way and then move somewhere else where you see people that more or less look like you, more like you, and then you don't know anything that they're talking about. You do kind of feel alienated. But I learned to adjust pretty quickly just because of who I am. And as an individual, I was able to catch on and learn things and eventually fit in. But I'm not going to say fit in. I just learned how to deal with people better because I don't want to fit in. And I've never been that way. I like to be different. Even if I wasn't with a black father and white mother, I just had two parents that were black or two parents that were white, I would be the same. I think I'd be the same kind of way I am now. I'm an individual. I don't like being like anybody else. I like to be different. I can't really give a fair judgment on this because it's only a trailer. I would have to actually see a full whole episode maybe a couple times before I made a decision on whether or not I felt as though it was accurate. But from the majority of it, some of it is. It just depends on how you were raised. In that scenario, she was raised in a cult. I was not raised in a cult. I was raised in the suburbs, like I said, half my life, and then the other half in the city. So, I'll come back to this. Let me watch a few episodes and I'll give an honest opinion. But I just basically think it's just a story of someone else. Everyone has a story. No one is the same. Everyone is different. Everyone's an individual. And as a matter of fact, while I'm talking about this, I've seen a few YouTubers, a few YouTube videos where they like talk about mixed people and they just group them all together, and they have this assumption that they think that they're better than African Americans. We're all African Americans, so I'm just going to nip that in the bud right now. But not all mixed people think the same or feel the same. I love my father dearly, and I love my family on his side that I eventually got to meet. You know what? I'm not even going to get into it because it pisses me off every time I think about certain YouTube videos that are out that do talk about they feel as though certain mixed people think they're better, or all mixed people think they're better. In my case, that's not the case. So I'm not even going to talk about that. Maybe I'll talk about it another day, but it's late, so I'm not going to talk about that at all. Alrighty, so I will be back, and that's my review. Actually, it wasn't really a review. It was more or less giving my opinion. Alrighty, so I will see you later. Bye-bye.